Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday Excellence. I'm your host, Todd Baldwin, and today we have Brad Brown, the Vice President of Operations of Southern Classic Landscape. Brad, how you doing today?
Doing good, Todd. How about yourself?
Doing good. I appreciate you hopping on here. I love talking to entrepreneurs and executive team members of businesses, so I look forward to chatting with you today. So, Brad, tell me a little bit about Southern Classic Landscape and what all you guys do and what areas you serve.
Sure. So we are a full design build firm here north of it, about 45 minutes north of Atlanta. And we do, I like to say, everything outside that's not attached to your house, pretty much. And what I mean by that is outdoor living spaces, landscape renovation. That's our bread and butter. We do offer full service maintenance, but we try to maintain our projects, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about let's before we dive into what's going on today, let's look back. Let's turn the I guess pull the curtain back. Tell us how you got started in this space in the landscape industry.
Sure, absolutely. Well, it's a family question because my dad is the owner of Southern Classic Landscape, and he's been doing this for 42 years. Little math, I'm 31, so been around my whole life. My dad spent his whole life managing some higher end landscape firms around the country. My childhood, and then I'd say about 2013, 2014, I was graduating high school. I was looking for a job, like a career. College wasn't my suit. And my dad was also at a point in his career where he said, I think I'm tired of working for some other people. It's time to start something for myself. So I joined Pops. We grabbed a lawnmower and we started picking up as many maintenance accounts as we could, and it's kind of grown from it grew from there.
So you started with your dad from day one, pretty much.
Day
I,
one, there's a controversy that I started even before he did. I think he was still managing a firm up in Maryland, and I was doing the field work back in Atlanta before everybody even went full time. Yeah.
all right. And so is it true you actually borrowed your neighbor's lawnmower out of
Yeah.
the gate?
Yeah, I think in the very early days, we were just trying to keep costs down. And so yeah, we did. A good friend of the family, we borrowed their mower for a little bit, borrowed another mower for a little bit. We just piece it together. Uh, in the early days, yeah.
I like that. I like that because I can relate to borrowing lawnmowers back in the day when I had a little lawn mowing business. I guess it was the first summer out of high school going into college. And so, no, I can totally relate. Um, so at 18 years old, you graduate from high school or thereabouts. And so most people aren't jumping into a business. Why was that path for you?
Yeah, it was, it made sense at the time. It made sense. It made sense. I was sweeping floors at a body shop. That was kind of what I had just gotten myself into, and it was not a glorious job.
Sure.
My dad was offering double the pay to cut some grass, and so I've been, you know, so my dad's been in the industry my whole life, and as a kid, those were the guys I looked up to, these guys that were running maintenance crews and install crews. And I always wanted to do it. But my dad, being the guy he was and understanding safety and the dangers of the job, would never let me touch a lawnmower until I was like one, old enough to stand above the bars.
Yeah.
When I was eight, I never worked on a crew for my dad as a kid. I had to work at Firehouse Subs down the road
Okay.
because I wasn't allowed to. You had to be 18 to be able to operate the equipment on a landscape. So so
Makes
it,
sense.
it was it was no big deal for me. I was like, all right, it's time to go, you know.
It's
My
like,
turn.
it's time to finally be able to push this mower,
Yeah.
or just allow them are self-propelled. So I don't think you want to be actually pushing them. So what? Tell us a little bit about kind of still talking about the early years. What were those first couple of years really like behind the scenes that people don't see when you're starting a business?
Sure. Yeah, it was in the it was tight, everything was tight. Winters were, I would go I wasn't full time those first couple years. It was my dad, it was more of like, get paid by the day kind of situation. Or my
Yeah.
dad, I got 2 days this week. I'm like, all right, let's do it, and some weekdays it would be like I got 4 days this week, and we're like, all right, what a killing. So it was feast and famine for a little bit. For sure, it was tight. Using the neighbor's mower when it's time, when we were at capacity. Always, when we needed a 48-inch mower, we were going to do 6 more months with the 21.
Yeah. Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're in Georgia, right? Are
Yep.
you? Tell us exactly where again.
We are 45 minutes north. Buford, Georgia, is where we're
Okay.
based out of. Yeah. And that's
Okay.
45 minutes north of Atlanta.
Okay. And so you're in season, right? It's cranking up right now this time
It's
of year. So what's
full
what's a
throttle right now.
normal week look like for you guys this time of year?
This time it's busy. We're super busy right now. My main focus is design and sales, and
Mhm.
project management of those projects. This week, luckily, I get a little break, and they're doing one of my dad's projects. I think they installed some artificial turf yesterday, and the install crew they got two other small projects today. They're building a small wall, doing a planting. They're everywhere. Those guys are busy. And then we have a full service maintenance crew that is just guns a-blazing right now, trying to squeeze in, mm, as much as they can in a day. Um,
Right. You mentioned you guys have shifting from like maidens to full design build, right?
yeah.
So I'm just curious, what triggered that change for you guys?
I think, just a just a general passion that probably follows landscape, and my dad is that design aspect. My dad's a plantsman without a doubt. If you name the plant, he knows the botanical name, the common name, the six names that your grandmother knows it by. He's probably one of the brightest, most knowledgeable plants people I've ever met.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he's that guy. And so if you were to see his house, we always say it's better than the state botanical gardens. Like it is, it's that's his realm, that's his passion, which he has given to me. And so mowing grass, we nobody, we just that's just the idea was we got to keep the bit lights on, right? We gotta pay the water bill, and that's what that maintenance did. And so it was never the goal. It was always just there to sustain. So once we were able to kind of just get a break out of that, you know, head down, cut grass, stack dollar phase,
Yeah.
we've been able to break out and build, high quality, larger scale projects.
Yeah. It seems like I've talked to a lot of landscape guys. We work with a lot of landscapers. Like I told you, we're a digital marketing agency, work with companies around the country, but so many guys they just got started, cutting grass, right? And just got into the business and took it from there and started adding pieces. And then at some point, a lot of them are like you, just say, we don't do it anymore. We don't do any grass. Some still do a little bit, have a maintenance side, but a lot of people just transition into that build project or, really high end designs, backyard spaces. So you guys will do a little bit of everything. Tell us about the services that you offer, because I know when people hear like landscape, sometimes they just think you're just like planting some shrubs and maybe some plants and flowers. But you guys do a little bit of everything. Tell us a little bit more about what all services you guys offer.
Yeah. So, I mean, we offer, if you, the whole back of the truck services is what I like to call, when you see the guy, he's got the truck down the road and the services, it's the mulching, sod, planting, retaining walls, all of those things. And what our goal and what we do is we take your space and transform it.
Right.
And when we talk about outside, we're talking about your plantings, your living spaces outside, the lighting that's outside, the overall general feel, to where when you come into a garden in a place that you can relax. So when you're done for the day, that you come out there and you'd just rather be out there. And that's all aspects. That's, we're making sure on every project the drainage is correct, that the irrigation is correct. We handle all of that in house. We build the patio, we build the fireplaces, we build the outdoor kitchens, the pergolas, um, the artificial turf, and we install the sod, and then the full landscape design around that, I would say, is where we really shine with really detailed knowledge in our designs of in the actual softscapes, which is the plantings and
Yeah, they, that background oasis, right?
exactly,
You can dream it, you can build it, right? You guys
exactly.
can go out and create it. When we were talking earlier, before our call, you mentioned that you really thrive, in these 80K, these bigger type projects. I'm just curious, what makes your company really good at those higher end jobs, do you think?
I think our attention to detail, I think our ability to I think our ability to execute. I would say if anything, our crew's probably underutilized 90% of the time. They could always do more. We're super capable. The experience our crew, I mean, I would say our installation crew has, combined 100 plus years of experience. I mean, every guy on the littlest amount of experience is like 5 years, and that's our, like, everyone else is 10 plus. So
Yeah,
then, and the designer, it's always just loads of experience. So we know what we're doing. And when we just get a little bit more material to play with, it's a lot easier to operate.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. Do you find, 'cause I was talking to a guy in your space and he said the same thing. Everybody loves these big projects and there's a lot of passion behind them to really create something unique and beautiful for the homeowner. But he also said, smaller jobs can be really profitable too. And he said, really, if I break it down, a lot of times I make more per hour on a smaller job than say a big, 60, 80, 100K job. Do you find that true too?
There's no doubt. If I could do a $10,000 planting where I just putting plants in the ground, I'd do
Yep.
that, and I could do that in one day, and I would do that every single day, 5 days out of the week, and that would be,
That would
you
be
know,
awesome.
I can, yeah. I mean, that would just be easy. I think what happens is when you start doing a lot of that, it can get exhausting on the management, logistic, project management side, where,
Yeah.
you might set up camp on a $80,000 job for 2 weeks and you produce 80, and that you could also produce 50 in a week. And for the crew, I mean, they got energy at the end of the week, but that project manager's probably got his hair pulled out because he's talked to 5 different customers, and
I got you. Just dealing with the homeowner. It can be
yeah, and the
challenging.
deliveries and the logistics and the schedule, and if it
Yeah.
rains and all of that, just
It's 5 separate. Yep.
that's where those jobs start getting not so fun. But at the same time, you can bust them out. You could almost do 2 of them in a day.
Yeah, yeah. So there's wins on both sides, I
For
see.
sure.
Like, so let's talk a little bit about how you guys are a family business in your culture, right? I was in a family business. I mean, when my dad helped me start my first business, my dad always seemed to have he's always an entrepreneur and had different businesses, and so always seemed to be doing things for him. He was in a print business, for example. He was a printer.
Okay.
But I remember being at the shop, sweeping floors, emptying trash, cleaning presses, got upgraded to printing envelopes, and anyway, but then we actually really got into real business. He actually helped me start my first company, but and it can be amazing, but it can also be challenging. I found too working with your dad. So I'm just curious, what's it been like for you working with your dad?
The best way to put it is my dad was my best man at my wedding.
Yeah, that's awesome.
My dad's my best friend.
Yeah,
I probably have a different relationship with my dad than probably most people. I feel blessed to have the relationship I have with my dad. Now, me and my dad are a lot alike. I think the older I get, the more I realize I'm a little bit like him. And we for sure butted heads. Uh,
sure.
But I think the mutual respect of, that my dad instilled in me as a child of, that we have a job to do and we're gonna do it right the first time. And at the end of the day, you know, he's always stressed to me that it's not the most important thing, you know? The time that we spend by the pond catching bass with my son or, at a baseball field, those are the important times. So I think we do a really good job, I always like to say, separating church and state. Um,
Yeah,
but
there's
it
a
but
couple.
it but it has been challenging. There's been times where I don't wanna go to my dad's house because it's like, I don't wanna talk about those 3 clients today, I'd just like it to
Yeah,
be Saturday afternoon.
yeah. It's a couple of things you touched on that really kinda resonated with me. It's that A is, well, first off, it is amazing as the older we get, the more, smarter our parents are, and I don't think that really ever ends. I'm in my 50s now, right? And so I still have a ton of respect for my dad, obviously, but, there's just something about, um, the older you get, and like you said, there's a lot of things he said back in the day that make more sense now and so forth. I've got kids that are one's graduated from college, and she's already trying to transition adult, tons of fun to hang out with. I've got a son who's just finished his first year in college, and he's still kinda in that teenage year. I mean, he's much better, but yeah, my daughter thinks we're cool to hang out. My son's he's kinda getting there, but I love also how he says, the business is not the most important thing. So, um, couldn't agree more there. And then, yeah, there's always challenge. My experience is working with family is a huge challenge, but I've had partners my whole life up until the last couple of years in my business. And so partners are challenging, right? It's just part of doing business and business is hard, you know?
Yeah,
But
I think so for sure.
well, I mean, kudos, man. I love that you said your dad was your best man. So, but it's hard, yeah, because I do remember times like you mentioned getting together, and I didn't want to talk business, or there was maybe still some issues unresolved, and you just kind of avoid the whole company conversation because you don't really want to go down that rabbit hole, at certain times outside of business.
I'll tell you
You
what's
experience,
harder is working in the field with your dad. If you
yeah.
gotta go out there and sweat and be out there for a couple hours to your point of exhaustion, and both of you at that point, that's when it gets tricky.
Well, I know you told me that the plan is for you to take this over in the next what 3 to 5 years, and
Yeah, something
your
like that.
dad's gonna be getting ready to retire. So I'm just curious, what have you learned from your dad that you'll carry forward when you do take over? When all of a sudden, hey, you start the process of buying him out.
Yeah, I was just telling him this the other day. My dad is willing to do whatever it takes. My dad can have whatever tough conversation that needs to be had. And I probably naturally fall into I'll dance around it if I could and say it prettier and nicer and maybe bring you some donuts to soften the blow. My dad is just, no, let's handle it. Let's call him right now. Hey, this is the problem.
Yeah, not
And
yeah, I mean, I'm only smiling because I can relate to that. I've gotten much better just hitting it head on, but sometimes you wanna dance around the problem, right? Try to soften the blow as opposed to just ripping the Band-Aid off,
my
you know?
dad's a huge solution solver. His urgency to get something done is like unmatched.
Yeah,
And I would say we nailed a lot of business because people just say, "Wow, like you guys were fast to respond."
yeah,
Wow, you guys are that was so quick. I just contacted you guys and you called me back. Or Todd responds to my text no matter what.
yeah.
And he's consistent. And I think that's the thing I probably will take the most from me, his urgency and his consistency.
Kudos on, responding back to I'm assuming that was to, like, new leads or
Yeah.
things and then yeah. I wanna touch a little bit on marketing. Before we do, I wanna ask you one kind of follow-up on the culture and just ask you to kind of describe what your culture is like today in your company. I know we've talked about how you and your dad related, but what about, your team, your employees? Tell us a little bit about how the culture is there and, how important it is.
Yeah, so it all just kind of falls in family. So I would say pretty much so my sister does her admin. Um and so those are the three core, me, my dad, and my sister, and we handle the core, most all the admin work, design, sales. And then the rest of our crew is like they're all related somehow. And over the years, it's always been a brother or a cousin and an uncle, and those 3 guys are working together. And the respect of, we have hot lunches every day. We got warm, our crews don't scatter. We sit together, we're a big old family. And the biggest I'd like to say is when I hire people, I say, I'm not hiring you to work on this crew. I'm not hiring you to work on that crew. I'm hiring you to work with us. We are a team here,
Yeah.
and we operate as a team. So if today Jose and Miguel are sick, you're gonna go be on that crew today because we need help there. Or if those guys at 7 o'clock and they're broken down on the side of the road, we're all gonna get in the truck and go pick the truck up and jack the tire up and go get them out of there.
Go help them out. So that's a good topic because you mentioned hiring people and crew. And so, what separates a good crew from a great crew in your world?
Time together, time working together. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of really skilled guys over the years, masons, electricians, plumbers, all of the guys, carpenters. I mean, guys that could just do it perfect every time. And you can put all of those guys with a bunch of guys they've never met before, and they all operate pretty well. But if you put those guys together and get them to work together for 3 years in a row, those are the guys that built the pyramids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you can have a crew that's been there over time, and
Yeah.
it's everybody just kind of knows what to expect, and how to go about getting jobs done. It just runs smoother, right? It sounds like you've done a good job of keeping your crews long term, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say our newest guy has probably been here for a year plus. So
Nice. Well, let's transition into marketing. You mentioned, I like how you said you get positive feedback from just following up quickly, because we tell new clients all the time, and even existing clients, look, when a lead comes in, especially offline or on, from digital, um, you got to get back to them instantaneously, because, or if you're not following up immediately, there's a good chance someone else is, and you're going to lose that opportunity. And we try to obviously practice the same way if a new lead comes into us. And it's funny because you kinda hear that, like, surprise on the other end, like, "Wow, I just hit send. I just hit submit on your web form. You already called me back." So,
yeah,
how was that, what made you realize, was it just you followed up really quick one time and got the job, or is it just what made you follow that practice? Because there's so many business owners that don't do that. Like,
it's
they
just
may, like, follow up at the end of the day. So
it's a practice. I think if my dad was here to tell you, I think it's a practice that he would say that my grandfather taught him. And that he's always done, and then that he has taught me. I mean, when I say from the beginning of the company, that is how we have, he's quick. So I think it's just it's a taught trait.
yeah, no, it's a good trait, good,
Yeah.
and keep passing that thing on too. So, what's, so in the world of marketing, I know you do digital marketing, what's been working for you? What hasn't worked? Challenges, successes? I know I'm kinda just throwing different topics at you, but
Sure. Yeah,
tell me about what's going on in your marketing world.
I think it's, it used to be at the beginning, it was a lot of just word of mouth. It was just a lot of just some Facebook posts. And then it was paying a guy to do some Facebook ads. And that was working pretty well. And we, jumped pretty good. And then it was boosting that up a little bit more. And then I was paying a guy to start running our Google, and that was working well. And we were just doing a little Facebook and a little Google. And then we met with some people at a marketing firm and they built us a website, and that was huge for us. That was probably around 2020, which was just a huge benefit for us in general. At that year, COVID, we doubled in size probably. Um,
It's interesting, COVID was, the service industry, if you were running a good business, had a good operation, were some big, big years for a lot of the home service businesses.
it was the COVID bump was real. It
Yeah,
was.
that was real. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Everyone wasn't at work. We were on the highways and there was nobody on the roads, and we were like, "This is great," but we were
Yeah, you're the only one cruising around. That's funny. I didn't think of that, but yeah, no, everybody. It's weird because we had a really good couple of years too in those COVID years because our clients were busy and we were bringing on more clients, and a lot of it was home service related type work because you guys were deemed essential businesses, so you were still out operating, and you had everybody sitting at home thinking like, "I've been wanting to fix this up. Let's do it now." I guess that's my mindset, but
Yeah, that's what I kept hearing. It was just we're home now. We look out the window all the time now. We're not at the office, so this is where we see. They wanted it to be pretty, and they wanted to be able to relax there as well. So they had to work and relax in the same spot. So
sure. So I'm curious, we talked about some of the agencies you've been with and some pain points. I'm just curious, would you mind sharing those with us? I know I'm in the business, so you're not going to offend me, but I'm amazed at how I'm actually compiling a list of pain points what people business owners go through dealing with bad agencies. I think you said you had dealt with some of those. What were some of the frustrating things you experienced when working with an agency that maybe wasn't delivering like you had hoped?
yeah, I think probably our biggest pain points were is that we were investing a lot and we had done a lot of work, and we were just still not pulling quality leads. Like,
Yeah,
we were just, I think, for a period of time, we just could not we were getting leads, but they were all, dirt kickers, if you will. Nobody was genuinely interested, or everyone was, you could just unqualify all of them in the discovery phone call. And we had made a bunch of adjustments, and then when we switched, what we had learned is just we hadn't been told that were spending the right amount, on our ad spend, and that our website was actually not functioning as how we thought it should be. Um,
yeah. You mentioned a little bit of that when we were talking beforehand, which is, yeah, I mean, it's there's a whole method and process, right, to have an effective marketing campaign, and so it's interesting how just even with your Google Ads, your paid program, your budget wasn't sufficient, and it was brought to you, I guess, by some other people looking at the work you were doing. So, have you guys are in season right now? Have leads picked back up, or I mean, do you feel like the problem's being corrected slowly, or
I think slowly right now, I mean, I have some really good opportunity in the next 2 weeks, which I haven't had. So I would say things are picking up for sure. Um, and m- Probably not as great as I'd like it to be.
yeah,
But it's for sure. I mean, the quality is picking up. People inquiring are having inquiring with larger budgets, in better parts of town. Um,
is that the main thing that you like? How would you define what a good lead is for you? Quality lead,
um, I would say a quality lead is someone who that's a probably a tough question. That they I would say they have it's not about just having a budget, but it's having a realistic project,
right?
and a realistic budget in mind, for said realistic project. Being in our service area, and not just be a person who is just looking for prices.
Yeah.
Yeah, which there's a lot of that, and we've learned that those are not good leads.
Not good leads, yeah,
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 yeah, we're really a good lead is someone. I would say someone who has done their research, someone who's went on our website and looked at the thing. You know what I mean? And maybe researched several companies, and maybe I always like to say, like, purchased us a little bit before without purchasing us,
yeah, yeah.
like, have decided to go with us just because what we have done in the marketing realm.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, you've got leads that come from paid ads on Google or local service ads, right? You're paid
Sure.
for that traffic, you're on page 1, and then you have the whole organic presence where the site just ranks organically on page 1 for, hopefully keywords and services that you really wanna go after. I find those leads that come in off the organic channel seem to be a higher quality than the paid. Paid are good leads, don't get me wrong, but our clients say the best leads are those organic leads. I think it's what you just said, the reason why. which is that they're just doing more vetting, more research, more studying before they actually reach out, right? They're not just, well, I'd like to plant some things. We've been talking about it and do a search and just start clicking on those paid ads. And, they're more tire kickers. And don't get me wrong, I see a lot of quality come through paid. It can definitely be an effective channel, but there's nothing better than have a strong organic presence and getting leads on a consistent basis from organic searches. um, they're just good quality leads. I think it's because, like you said, people are vetting and are just doing more research before they reach out. They have a real budget, real project in mind, you know, and really an idea of what they're looking for. Do you think? Let me ask you this: what do you think most marketing companies do not understand about your business?
I don't think they understand the difference in services,
Yeah,
and the differences because the landscape industry is there's 150 landscape companies within 10 square miles of me. Anybody can be a landscape. You could be a landscaper tomorrow. We
I
don't
say
have
that about digital marketers all the time. There's a digital marketing company on every street corner. But go ahead, Brad. I
yeah, so
feel your pain there.
anybody can do it and there's no competition. There's so much where we live there's so much work. You know,
Right.
and, and I think what they don't understand is the difference between, somebody who's providing high-end residential work, commercial only work, and a guy who's willing to come out to your yard and cut your grass this afternoon because he's got nothing else on the books and that's what he does. You know what I mean? He's got a
Yeah.
weed eater and a lawnmower. That's
Yeah.
all he's got, and that's what he does. And that guy can make money and feed his family doing that too.
Sure.
So I think that's the hard thing. I think it's a hard probably it's a challenge in general to understand. Um,
It's we hear that a lot. I mean, just talking to business owners about frustrations, I guess, with their agencies and so forth, and they really didn't understand my business. Last question on marketing, and I'm gonna leave the topic. Thanks for answering these for me because I'm a marketer, so I like to hear different people's opinions and so forth. But
sure.
um, if you could fix one thing in your marketing overnight, what would it be?
I would just say I don't know. I mean, the result would be just, v- double the amount of qualified leads.
There you go, double down.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people too. I mean, it seems like no matter how many leads we get a client that they always want more, which is good. We did have a client, it's actually a landscaper. It's same thing, built, one and kind of a one-stop shop does everything that you guys do. But she was saying, we have too many leads right now. We were like, it's a good problem to have. I didn't talk to the client, but that's what my team was telling me. So she's happy, but she's just like, man, we're busy and we've got so many leads. So that's always good to hear. And then I tell clients all the time too, because they're like, well, how many leads can we expect? I'm like, it's not the number of leads, it's the number of quality leads
Yeah,
that count, right? It's all about the quality. Who cares if
for
I gave
sure.
you 100 leads and they're all no good?
That was long time. That took a long
Just we're
time to
just
figure that
wasting
out.
time, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's wasting everybody's time. All right, we'll transition out of marketing, kind of slowly wrap this thing up here, Brad. I appreciate you, like I said, chatting with us. So, um, I'm curious. You guys you said you're 31 now. So you're 13 years in, right, on this journey. So, are you guys? Is your goal just to continue to grow and scale and hopefully sell one day, or is this something that you think about passing on to your kids, or you know, keep it in the family and just let it keep transitioning down to different family members?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
I think, I'm a man of opportunity. The goal is to drive it as big as possible for as long as possible. Um, I think it would be great to be able to, bring my son on board and, he's 8 now,
Eight, yeah.
and 10, 12 years, something like that, to be
It'll
working
go
on.
by like that, Brad. It's gonna go by like that. He's gonna be. That's because my kids are now 20, 20, and 22. So Yeah, and they were just 8. So, go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but every time I
Yeah.
hear my kids, I'm like, "Man."
No, I get it because they were just babies yesterday,
Yeah,
so I totally get it. And I'd like, I'd like to be able to offer that. I think the idea in mind behind starting the business in the long run was to be able to give, our family a shot at some generational wealth somewhere along somewhere along the line, you
yeah,
know, um, whether it was here or a couple generations along the way. But I think so. Whatever whatever that looks like.
sure.
Sure.
Let's say if your son was to take over one day, what kinda company do you want him walking into?
I want him to walk into a functional, just well-oiled machine, where he's not coming in and putting out any fires,
Yep,
the fires were put out years ago. Um, and he's just able to come in and be able to operate and, see what he can do to create even more growth.
I got you. And what does winning look like for you over the next 5 to 10 years when you think about your business?
Um, I think probably, doubling in revenue, which I think is not unrealistic. For us, I think is probably, probably a big win. I think maintaining everybody that's on staff currently and seeing that in 5 years, I think those are pretty big wins.
Pretty big wins.
Yeah.
I would agree. Doubling revenue is always a good thing, right?
Yep.
It's always good doubling down and increasing that revenue. Looking back, what's one lesson you'd give someone starting in your position today?
Starting in my position, it would just be patient.
Yep.
Be very patient. You got to work hard. You got to work harder than the next person next to you, but you got to be patient and you can't kill yourself. You can't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
I
Don't kill yourself.
Yeah.
Meaning don't overwork or what? Or don't.
Yeah, don't overwork. Don't lose sight of, you gotta work hard, but don't lose sight of the fact that you got a life outside of the mission you're on. You got a wife and you got a mom and you got a dad. You possibly have kids. Uh and that's why you're doing it.
It's like Dad said, some the business is not the most important thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, a couple of questions off topic. I'm just wondering if you listen to podcasts, and if so, are there any that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Yeah, I'm not in any like niche podcasts. I'm pretty mainstream guy. I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I like Joe.
I like Joe. I don't listen to a lot. I'm very busy. But I watch if you're an adult viewer, the show Kill Tony. It's the number one live podcast in the world.
What is it?
Kill Tony.
Kill Tony?
Pretty
Is
much
that a
it's
what
a
is what?
it's a live podcast.
Oh, it's live.
It's a comedy podcast. It's like a stand-up comedy.
Okay, and it's live.
It's live. Yep.
You listen to past recordings?
It's every it comes a new one comes out every Monday.
Really?
Yep.
All right.
It's just for adult audiences.
Adult audiences
Yeah,
only.
it's just
I wrote that down. I
stand-up
walk a
comedy.
lot, so I like try to find different podcasts and things to listen to. So
It's
that question's a little bit self-serving.
keeps it light. It keeps it light. It's what I
Keeps it
put in the
light.
background to make me laugh tune
Yeah,
in every now and then you're laughing to a good joke.
you need a good life.
Yeah.
Any one-liners that you use or that you like? I'll give you example. Actually, I'll give you one I heard on one of a recent podcasts is from Amy, Clearwater Plumbing in Fort Worth, Texas. But she said, one of her favorite thing is, "Don't bring me a problem without bringing me a solution." And she said she's really big on that with her team, and I just thought that was really cool, right? Like, just you're fine to come and tell me about problems, but if you're gonna do that, bring me a solution too. So I just thought that kinda resonated with me. Is there anything you like out there that you could share with the audience?
Sure, I like if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right the first time.
There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, I've heard different versions of that my whole life, but it's so true, right? Just do it right the first time, right? We don't have to go back and
Yeah,
clean up the mess or fix it or whatnot.
for sure.
Brad, it's been great talking to you, man, and hearing about your journey. I love how when it said, let's go do this, and we're gonna borrow a lawnmower and we're just gonna go make it happen." So it's funny you look back and see how those early days were and how where you are now. But that's why I like talking to entrepreneurs is because of just the whole journey you go through, right? To get there. So can't thank you enough for being on the show today.
Absolutely.
Um, how can people find you and your company if they want to reach out?
Yeah, you can, we're on Facebook and Instagram. You go to our website at southernclassiclandscape.com.
Awesome. And of course, if any of our listeners would like to visit about digital marketing, specifically how AI search is changing the game, you can always reach out to me at everydaymediagroup.com or Todd Baldwin at Everyday Media Group on LinkedIn. Brad, thanks again for your time, man. Good luck the rest of the season. I hope those quality leads keep coming in, and I hope you guys have a record year for you.
Thanks, Todd.